We are on. Hello, January. How are you?
Stephanie, I'm so good. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for bringing me on. This is exciting.
Yes.
I love connecting and just sharing goals and, just where we're going.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So I have to give a little bit of background on this. I think we connected because of Project Forward last year, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think,
I think
yes.
that's right.
Yes. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think I had technical difficulties.
I think we all were having technical difficulties back then because it was like, how do I do this
Yes.
thing called
Yes.
a podcast? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think I was struggling with how to figure things out. So but we've been in touch here and there and seeing each other online and you were at SquadUp. I was at SquadUp, although I didn't get to see you in
I
person.
know. I can't
Oh,
believe we missed each other.
so many people there. I know.
It was a mob of 3,000 of our closest friends, right?
Yes, exactly, exactly. But I saw that you were there and I was like, okay, I didn't get to meet you in person, but I still want to see if you would be on my podcast to share your 3 goals from Squad Up.
Yeah.
And you were so kind to accept. And so here we are again online, but thankfully, knock on wood, no technical difficulties.
Yes. Exactly.
So before you get into your 3 goals, though, for those who do not know you yet, can you share a little bit about how you got into real estate?
I stumbled into it. Actually, my husband has served a couple of decades in the Air Force. So we had to move from location to location regularly, consistently.
Yeah.
But every so often, we'd like, I really like this house. Let's buy this house. We could probably, I think we'll be able to stay here in this area. And we tried to do what we could to stay
Yeah.
in one place for a long time. And so through that process, we became accidental landlords. We had purchased a property in one location where we were stationed, and we are like, yeah, we'll be able to stay here. And of course my husband got orders, and it was like, oh well, then I guess we need to sell. But lo and behold, we had bought at the like 2007 point,
Ooh.
and and we bought on a VA loan. So we had no equity in the property. So here we are. Now we get PCS orders. Our value has dropped just like every other house in the whole town, in the whole nation. So our value dropped. We were upside down and we couldn't sell it. In fact, we had moved actually in and out of that house because we knew we were bouncing back and forth between 2 stations.
Ooh. Okay.
And so we had lived in that same house a couple different times as landlord, and we rented it while we were gone. But this time it was like, no, this is actually, we're moving away. We're not coming back to this house.
Okay.
So this, you'd think we had owned this house for 7 years. We'd have had the numbers come back up.
Yeah.
But even after all that time, our value had not increased. So we were going to pay out of pocket to sell this property.
Oh my God.
Wouldn't that have been a great time to know about subject 2?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. But we had our house listed for 9 months. We had like one serious offer. We were going to have to bring almost $10,000 to the closing table in order to sell our property. And then our agent kind of messed things up and let something slip. And the people were like, we're not buying this house if that's what you're trying to do. And it was, our agent was willing to reduce her agent fees in order to help us not have to pay $15,000 out of pocket. So she reduced her fees and she told the buyers. And the buyer said, well, we won't buy this property if you're having to reduce your fees to get them out of their house. So we ended up having to rent. And, we had a great property management company on all the other times that we had done it. But this time they weren't doing property management anymore. They had shifted into a new business. And so I had to find somebody new. And I thought, okay, great, no worries. We'll just rent it for a little while and see how we do.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that property manager was not fiduciary to us. And so they were more concerned about, well, if you raise the rents, like all the other houses in the area are raising their rents to market level, you might lose these tenants. And so every time we said, raise it, they didn't raise it. So here we are, just like, with this frustrating situation. Finally, we get it sold. We got out of that whole situation. We're like, you know what? Robert Kiyosaki was right. You got to get it, buy it low, sell it high.
Yeah.
We've got to learn more about, how to purchase real estate. And that's where I ran into an elephant challenge and was introduced to Pace Morby. And through that elephant challenge process, I met so many fantastic sub-2 students.
Yes.
And while Pace puts out an incredible amount of free information on YouTube and Instagram, all over the internet, here's the thing. It's not the information that's the real value. The sub-2, the value is in the people, in the. So I recognize that from the outside looking in, and over a year ago, I joined sub-2 and then immediately started training as a transaction coordinator. So I've been a transaction coordinator for over a year now. And as soon as Top Tier TC opened up, I joined that so I could become a certified Top Tier TC.
Yeah.
And then my husband and I also jumped into Gator after that, so that, let's go ahead and just round it all out and be in all of Pace's communities so that we can just say, all right, we're here. We're well represented.
Nice.
So that's kind of my real estate background. Before that, nothing real estate at all. But now I'm fully immersed in real estate, all the time real estate.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. So for people who may not be familiar with what a transaction coordinator is or does, would you be willing to share that? Like, what does that look like?
So as a transaction coordinator, I have multiple different clients who are either buying, selling, wholesaling, or borrowing or lending money on real estate. So I am in the background doing, you could think of it as project management for the purchase or sale of the property, or, getting together the documents for a lend or a borrow on a property. So I am, checking off my boxes, making sure all the things get done, making sure all the documents are collected, and reading those documents to make sure they're actually right.
Yeah.
One of the things I do as a TC is I go over every settlement statement, and I have never once had a settlement statement come to me for the very first time and it was 100% correct.
No.
Never once. So think about it. I think about when I bought my personal home.
Yep.
I didn't see a settlement statement until I was sitting at the closing table with the notary. And we're looking here like, just sign. There's 500 pages. Just sign, initial. Can you?
Yeah.
Now that I know better, I'm like, I hope there wasn't something wrong.
Yes.
Because I've never seen one right the first time it came out. So
wow. Yeah, so for the end buyers, they don't even realize that they're at risk of something being off. And we've
Right.
seen so many examples just within the community. I remember the one of the Zooms last week, somebody was talking, oh, it was the ethics class.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Somebody was talking about how the settlement statement was wrong. It was off $1,500 that the
Okay.
buyer was shorted on,
Oh,
and or the seller was supposed to get $1,500 more than what they actually got, and they reached out to the wholesaler, and it was, I think it ended up being where it was a JV type of situation where there were multiple people involved, and some of the people were not enthusiastic about giving their portion of that $1,500 back,
yeah.
and then the title company did not even see that there was a problem when they called. They kept calling the title company. This isn't right. My numbers show this. And they're like, no, it adds up. But the problem was between the two systems. Apparently, the title company had two different systems that did not talk to each other. And it looked right on each side, but between the two, the 1,500 was missing.
Mm,
So you never know how the title company, I mean, nobody's perfect, right?
right.
Nothing is perfect. So the title companies, they do all of their due diligence, they're doubled and triple checking everything. But here was a clear example of, even with that, because you're talking about working with multiple systems,
Yeah.
they didn't see the problem. And so yeah, it can happen. Now, I'm
Yeah.
curious because I've heard this before, and I want to put this out there. Um, the Some people will be like, "Well, yeah, but it's going through the title company. So what, like, do I really need to have a transaction coordinator when I pick the title company?" What would you say about that? Like, what's the difference, I guess?
Well, I'm not title, but I'm there to help make sure title can get their job done
Yes.
well, on time, and correct.
Yeah.
I'm not the buyer's secretary. I'm
Yeah.
not the seller's secretary. I'm not anybody's executive assistant. But when you think of title companies are doing hundreds of transactions at
Yes.
any given time.
Right.
So when your file comes up and there might be just a little snag, there's something that is, you know, calls for a little extra work on their end, they are not really, you know, seeing where they're going to find the time to go do that extra
Yeah.
for it. I often there have been files that needed a death certificate that I've been working on. And the title company is like, well, the seller has to just go get one. And the seller's like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
And that's where I come in and I help support. Well, then let me help you. Let's go
Yeah.
look through this. So I call the county. Where do we find a death certificate? How is the
Yeah.
best way to get that? What's the most efficient way? And I've had times where I've been on a Zoom call with a seller and I'm sharing my screen on the website where we place an order for the death certificate to come in.
Yeah.
And that saved the deal. Like the title company was like, we can't request it. And the seller just needed a little bit more help to
Right.
get through that. And that one piece of paper was the last thing that was needed. It could have delayed the whole deal by, who knows how long, if
Right.
the seller didn't have somebody like me to just come along and say, you know what, I can help. Let
Right.
me help in any way, whether it's calling or getting online with you or just giving you the steps to go
Right.
do it yourself. So title's not going to take that initiative. It is going to be left completely on the seller's part. And
Yeah.
so the seller's going to have to either have support or figure it out. And sometimes without a TC. And I do so many more things than that. But, that's just one example that I've actually run into on a number of my files, that there needs to be a death certificate for this to close. And sellers are just like, oh my goodness, I don't even know where to begin to get that information. So that's just one of the things. Another thing, like we were talking about, I check those settlement statements. I also check the title search and find out what exactly is on this title report, what is liened against the property. And so that is one of the things that I come back and I say, look, there's this lien and this lien and this lien. Did you know about these liens? And oftentimes people are like, I didn't know about that at all. Where did that come from? And so then we start digging in a little bit deeper and finding out, where did it come from? And how can we get that released? And so those are just some of the things. Of course, I'm reading over the contract, making sure that all the numbers add up. And I'm reading over if there's a seller finance portion and there's a promissory note involved, I compare what were your terms and what's actually listed on that promissory note. I compare the numbers so that just in case I've had promissory notes come through and I mean, let's face it, everybody's using templates because we're trying to do more with less time. And so, somebody had a template and that, whoever filled in the blanks on the template didn't check further down and see that, yep, this is a deal in Texas, but further down it says something about Arizona law. It's like, this says Arizona. And that was we can't have that. So I'm just looking to make sure that things are lining up the way they should be. And providing
you're the advocate. I mean, I think that's really what it boils down to, is the title company is neutral. They're just doing their part of the process. They're not really looking at it from either party's perspective. And so if you're not intimately comfortable with every part of that process, and having the time to commit to doing all of those little steps and double checking and holding everybody's hands, then you really need to have a transaction coordinator, especially being an investor. If you're looking to scale and have more transactions, this is not everybody's forte, right? It's not what is the book, Who Not How, right? Find your who, find your person that this is their forte. They are very detail oriented. They know the process. And they're willing to go to bat for you. I think that's the biggest thing, right? The transaction coordinator is your advocate. They're looking out for your best interest in this process. So yes, thanks for sharing that. Okay, so we kind of went off on a little bunny trail. So, but I thought that was a super great piece of information, right, for people, because that was a totally new thing to me when I first got into real estate. Was, what in the world is a transaction coordinator? How does this work? And is it really needed? Yes, absolutely, 100%. Every person that is doing business in real estate learns one way or another that a transaction coordinator is needed. Yes.
Exactly.
So what are your 3 goals? We talked about 3 goals in SquadUp. We started with 10. We narrowed it down to 3. What's your first goal?
Wow. So we came up with goals there, at SquadUp, and you and I were scheduled earlier than today. And it was like, great, I got my 3 goals. I'm good to go. I'm ready for this, this podcast. But in the time where we had to reschedule, and we've had some time, and I've had more adventures along the way is This is what life feels
Yes,
like right now. It is
adventures, yes.
a huge adventure. Um, some of those goals have shifted a little bit, so
Ooh,
whereas I might have been earlier goal was looking more like, engaging more and getting more clients, getting more files to do. Now I'm seeing my real value then is actually training more interns, training more TCs
ooh,
to work under me, and me being the supervisor, so that I'm not necessarily in all the day to day, but
yeah,
I'm overseeing the quality of the interns, that are doing the same work for us.
nice.
So that's one of the goals. It changed from get more files, you
Yeah,
know, to actually doing more by teaching others how to do the same
yeah,
work that I'm doing at the level of excellence that I expect from myself. So that's
yes.
hard.
Awesome. Okay, well, so it kind of sounds like it is the same kind of goal. You want to scale, right? You want to
Yeah.
get more files, but how do you do that? Not necessarily you personally having to do that, right?
Yes.
So that's like the next level planning, right? So I need to get more files. How am I going to get more files without losing my mind?
Right. Right. You get more help.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's like one of the things that even Zig Ziglar teaches, and other, motivators, speakers teach
Yes.
about. It's like the more people you help to reach their goals, the more you are going to actually reach your own goals. So me
Yes.
helping other TCs get the experience and the files and the practice doing moving forward that way actually helps me grow in my own business. So
Absolute. Oh my gosh. Well, and that, okay. So Dan Martell, buy back your time. That's one of
yeah.
the things he talks about, right? Think about
Mm,
what empowers you most. Where do you feel invigorated, and where you add value? And then the things that are taking away from that, where you're not at your best, where you're not in that green space, that money making time, right? Whatever you want to call it, you need to think about, well, is that something I need to do at all? If it does need to be done, can someone else do it? Can I delegate that out? Or can I automate it? Is some kind of system that I can put in place that can help with that, right?
yeah.
So, the buy back your time is huge. I think a focal point is another book where he talks about
Mm,
how you're going to manage your time to reach the goals, to live your best life, is the way he put it. And
right.
one of the things he said was, you need to learn on what you can delegate. And it goes back to who, not how, right? You
Yes.
don't have to be
Yes.
the person doing all the things. You
Right.
build a team and you help everybody else do the things that maybe it's the part of the process that you're not so good at, or you're good at it but there's something you're even better at, and somebody else
Exactly.
is super good at that. Well, bring them in, bring them on board and let them do that part. So
Yes.
that's awesome. Okay, so your goal is still to bring more files in, bring help more people, but now it's like it's expanded. You're helping more clients by helping people become TCs and learn
Yep.
the quality of work that you expect, and then that's just going to make them that much better. So
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
awesome. Okay, so that's your first goal. So and we've kind of gone through how you got to that goal. How have you worked through that? Like, what are the actions that you've taken so far towards reaching that goal?
Well, I have been a part of Finish Line TC services
Ooh,
for a while,
yeah.
and actually, they made it really easy for me. So, just before SquadUp Summit, they brought me on as a partner in the company.
Ooh.
And so, as soon as we got back from SquadUp Summit, we had interviews of other top tier trained TCs, and we went through the process of finding a group of interns, and I started training them about a week after SquadUp Summit. So we Finish Line made it easy for me. They provided the pathway for me to
Right.
start training new TCs and bringing them into the company. And so that was kind of just part of being a partner in the company. Just, you know what? That's part of my position, is
Yes.
training up those new interns and bringing more TCs in to help us grow and scale and do more files as a
Love
company.
it. Okay, so that's how you find her, Finish Line.
Yes,
Note. Yes.
that's right.
So
That's
how many
right.
people have you been able to bring on and start training?
Well, we are getting close to the end of the first internship program that I was kind of in charge of or overseeing. There was one set of interns before I was made a partner, and they did 4 weeks for their program. But when we were discussing it for the next round, it was like, you know what, 4 weeks just wasn't enough. We need to give them a little more time to go out there and do more networking and booking consultations and having us oversee
Yeah.
how they're talking to clients. And so that we're nearing our end of our 6 week mark. So for
Ooh,
6 weeks, I've been spending a lot of my time really engaging and helping these other TCs grow.
love it. Okay, awesome. Okay, so what's your second goal?
My second goal, this one did not really change after
Okay.
SquadUp, and it is improve my follow-up with lenders and operators. Like I mentioned earlier, my husband and I are in Gator, and so we're looking for ways that we can fund projects, but also we're looking to help connect deals with money. And so I've got, just a lot of great connections with people in the community that I need to improve my follow up to make sure that I am able to, keep better track of the deals coming in and the funding that is available, so I can make those deals happen
Right.
that way. And so that was my second goal,
Okay.
improve my follow up.
All right. What do they say? The fortune is in the follow-up.
That's right. That is absolutely right.
I
Yes.
think we can all improve on that. The
I know.
consistency and the follow-up. I know I can. So, what kind of actions are you taking towards helping you reach that goal?
I really worked on being more intentional in putting in my lenders and my borrowers into my CRM,
Ooh,
so
okay.
that, and being able to track more of my conversations with them. What are the dates that I've reached out to them, and when should I reach out to them again?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of that. Those are the steps I'm taking and I've taken to keep in touch with people.
Yeah.
Just, because I'm TC. I'm working my files here, and I can get my blinders on and
Yeah.
like, look, I really don't have time to talk to you over there. I know you want to talk to my people over here, and I'm standing in between you guys. I'm
Yeah.
keeping you from knowing each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I, you know, being able to have my CRM, like
Oh,
just
yeah.
having that information there, that has been really helpful, and it just pings me on, hey, you said you wanted to reach out to this person in 14 days. It's time. Ding ding. Come on.
Yes.
So it's really handy having technology.
Oh, yeah. Systems and automation, right?
Yep.
Delegate, Systems, automation, all of those things help. Okay. So, what is your third goal?
My third goal is really kind of, it is a support goal. This one completely changed from SquadUp Summit
Mhm.
because my husband at SquadUp, we were introduced to some amazing people,
Yeah.
and my husband got connected um, and with someone who is all about starting funds. And
Ooh.
so actually the third goal, I don't know if we'll get it in 60 days because
Yeah.
it takes longer than 60 days to start
Yes.
a fund,
Yeah.
but um, we're learning the process and we're
Okay.
going through all the steps on how to start a fund because that is our next step. We are, working towards, we just got back from Puerto Rico and
Ooh.
it was not a vacation.
Oh,
It was all work the whole time, although it was fun work because we
yeah.
were there with real estate investors and
Woo.
they were talking about how amazing the tax incentives are for investing in Puerto Rico, especially if you're
Ooh.
investing in hospitality. So
Ooh.
there are projects that need funding in Puerto Rico, and they
Ooh.
are such there's some really amazing deals, and they're like, we just need the money. We're like, okay, we're gonna start a fund. We have got to get you some money.
Yeah.
so,
Nice.
so
Yeah.
starting a fund, goal number 3.
Ooh, okay. I love it. So I'm curious, do you remember what your original goal was that you
No,
switched? No.
I was trying to think of that. I was trying to remember what was that.
Apparently it was not meant to be for now. You
Uh,
know?
right, exactly. We might
Yeah.
have to circle back to that one. That one might have been travel more. I don't know. I did
Right.
travel more.
Yeah, you're going to Puerto Rico and all kinds of stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
So,
gosh. I think that's a good point. So, you have to be willing to pivot, right? And it's not
absolutely.
to say that it's not shiny object syndrome. I think some people might wonder, like, okay, I'm just bouncing from one thing to another. I think you really have to be honest with yourself and think about where are you wanting to land or where are you wanting to head in the long run, and are you taking the steps that are going to get you there. And it sounds like every one of these steps fits your long-term goals, right?
Yeah.
This is taking you closer to where you want to land. It's not where you're moving all across the same plane, like picking all kinds of different things. You're
Yeah.
picking certain things that you're working towards that are all leading you down that one path that you want to land on. So
Yep.
yeah, I think that's awesome. So, okay, well, you've got some things that are already in the works, some things that you're working towards. I would love to circle back with you and see where you're at like in the next 30 days. I know we're not quite at that 60-day mark, right? Because we had to push this a little bit later
Yeah.
to get together. So, but I would love to circle back with that's part of my follow up. See,
Yes. Yes.
I just
There it
build it
is.
right in. Circle back and see where things are going, how you're doing with building your team and getting more clients and the funding project. I think this is, yeah, I think a lot of people would be interested in this as well. So, one thing that I've approached this with is not only one of my goals was that I wanted to improve my social media presence and my reach and doing podcasts more consistently, trying to do that consistent thing, right?
Yes.
The follow up, right? And helping other people. And so I think that this kind of checks a lot of those boxes, right? Reaching
Yep.
out to the community and talking about goals, like you said, where are we going? What kind of actions are we taking? It's part of it is accountability as well, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
holding ourselves accountable, holding each other accountable,
Yeah.
and then putting this out there to everybody. This helps people who are a month, 2 months behind us, 3 months behind, just starting out, right? Like, this gives them some food for thought. So
Yes.
just really appreciate you being on the podcast. Now, before I forget, I almost forgot, how do people get a hold of you? Because you're a gator, you're a transaction coordinator, you're looking to train people who are top tier TC and want to be on a team, right? And you're working on these funds, right? There's so many opportunities here where people could reach out to you and be a part of what you're doing. How do they get you?
Absolutely. So I respond really well in Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
So I'm January Batten on Facebook. But I'm also at January Batten on Instagram. I'm not as good at responding to messages on Instagram just because, honestly, I get a lot more spammy messages DMs on Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's like, oh my gosh.
Okay, so avoid Instagram.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, I hope there's no pictures in this message.
I know. I know.
It's been very interesting, Instagram. But also I am available January at fltcservices.com. That's my email address. Okay. That's the email that I work out of for all of my TC work. And that's how, people can get in touch with me through Finish Line. So that is
awesome. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to circle back in about 30 days.
All right.
And see how things are going. And thank you so much for joining me. Oh, sorry. I want to just thank you and your husband, your family, for your service.
Oh, thank you.
That's huge, right? We would not be doing this right now if it wasn't for our military and their families. So thank you so much.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, thank you. I hope to be. I strive to be. Take care.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.